Welcome back to the Southland Technology Conference 2013 here in Long Beach, California. And with me is Dave Cornelius. Hello, Dave.
Well, hello, Cornelius. Dave and Cornelius.
Yes. It's always strange when I see you. It's like, do I call you Cornelius or Dave or what? Anyway, so we're actually not going to talk about the Southland Technology Conference because you and I were scheduled to record an interview about your presentation from the Global Congress.
That's correct.
In New Orleans, where we both were last week, and we missed each other, and we never got it done. And I walk into you here today, and I'm like, hey, Dave, I didn't know you were going to be at this conference. Let's sit down. Let's do the recording.
Yes, nothing like the moment, isn't it?
Nothing like the moment, exactly. So your presentation at the Global Congress was SMAC and Transforming Innovation. Before we look at what SMAC actually means, how did the presentation go?
I thought the presentation went really well. One of my friends from PMI-OC, as well as from OC Project Masters, our Toastmasters Club, was there, and she filmed my presentation, which was excellent. But also, just the people who came and participated in the process. I mean, after there was an interactive process, which was really great that people were allowed to apply SMAC to a new innovation that they came up with during that session. So that was really, really awesome and enlightening.
Okay. How many people were at the session?
I think roughly around 40-something people showed up for that presentation.
Right, perfect. Moving on. So what does SMAC, S-M-A-C, stand for?
Well, SMAC stands for social media, mobile, technology, analytics, and cloud computing. It's the convergence of four mature technologies to give you a great platform to really execute your business and even transform the way you do business as an organization.
How long has the term been around? Because frankly, when I first saw the title of your presentation, that was the first time I came across it.
I believe the first time I ran into this acronym was in perhaps 2012 or 2013 by a company called Cognizant. They had a white paper on SMAC.
Right. And just so that you know, folks, here at the Southland Technology Conference, there's a whole track about SMAC. So they have 4 tracks here: project management, quality assurance, personal development, and SMAC. So they have 8 presentations over those 2 days of something that I had never heard before, which is interesting. All right. So if we're talking about SMAC and transforming innovation, do I need all 4 parts of this, or do I need social, mobility, analytics, and cloud computing in order to transform innovation?
I believe the blend of the 4 gives you a great power. And if you do half of it, you may get some benefits from it, but the true benefits that you get is the ability to be more agile, the ability to be more innovative, and the ability to connect with customers in a new way that you've never done before.
All right. You mentioned that there is a great example around on somebody who has used SMAC, and that is the campaign from President Obama.
Yeah, the president in his 2 campaigns, 2 elections, actually realized that most of the young people under the age of 29 do not have a home phone, because campaigns would normally call you on your home phone, so they had no way of connecting with those young voters. So one of the things they did, they worked with Facebook and came up with a new app that allowed people to share their friends list. And with that new app, within the first week, they had over 1 million young people downloading that mobile app where they could share all of their friends. So if you think 1 million people times 500, that's a very big number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that, they helped to understand their voters better, do some predictive analysis, really understand the behaviors. When will they vote? At what time? And with doing that, they were able to also leverage technology without having to buy a whole lot of servers and computers to do it. They could rent, using cloud computing, rent services and time on a computer to really collect information and really do the analysis against that. And mobile, one of the things when their campaign was going on, I would get a few texts and information coming in because your mobile device gives you an interface to the internet. So he just leveraged that technology stack to be able to be successful and connect with all of those young voters.
All right. So we've heard about SMAC. We've heard a great example of how SMAC was applied in real life. Let's break it into its 4 components: social, mobility, analytics, and cloud computing. And we want to go through each of these four and look at their characteristics. So, the social part of it. What are the characteristics here?
When you think of social media, you think of things like Twitter, you think of Facebook, you think of LinkedIn, you have Tumblr.
Nobody thinks of Google Plus. I'd like to mention that.
Google Plus is, it's more for the business people. So when you think of just that platform, and it gives you the ability to collaborate with individuals, collaborate with different people in different businesses, and it expands the way we interact. If you think prior to social media, I would have to pick up the phone and call you or send you a letter. Now I could send you a quick message that gives you an alert on your mobile device. The other thing is that every time we go into the social media channels, I mean, they're capturing our behaviors and attitudes. If I like something, if I dislike something, if I enter some text about describing my feelings, so they're capturing our behaviors and attitudes. It gives us a new way to engage customers, because if you and I are friends, Cornelius, and I like your beautiful PDU podcast, and I could share that with someone, that means they will trust me more than if someone else had sent that information. And so it kind of influences the behaviors to respond to new and existing brands. And so that's a very powerful message for a company launching a new product or service.
All right. Second part, mobility. What are the characteristics here?
When you think of mobile technology or a mobile device, a smartphone, it really extends the reach to customers. Could you imagine before, if you had a desktop computer, that was your limited communication channel. Now, if I have a mobile device in my pocket, or I don't have a purse, but if someone else had a purse, you could actually connect with that customer and share information with them. When you think of the expansion of connections to information, videos, GPS, games, you think of all of those elements that you can connect in real time, leveraging even social media as a communication path, that you could leverage that information and really connect with people and share anything that you want to on the internet. And you think about it, Cisco said, like, by the end of 2013, there'll be over 7 billion mobile devices connected. 7 billion. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Right now, we're somewhere between just above 7 billion people on this planet.
Right.
So if you have 7 billion mobile devices, and many people in the developing world do not yet have a mobile device, that means many of us have 3 or 4.
Essentially, and you think about just Cisco also in their research estimated that by the end of 2014, you would have about 67% of all interactions would happen through a mobile device. It would be much higher by 2017.
Right. Okay. Puzzle piece number 3, analytics.
Well, analytics is a tool that provides insights into customer interaction and experiences. As what I've described in social media, that we leave our behaviors and attitudes in our social media channels. I'll give you an example. Walmart, at one point in time, they had a Supreme Court case against them for gender discrimination. And so they were trying to understand sentiment analysis. They were doing sentiment analysis to understand how people felt about Walmart as an organization discriminating against women, for example. So they would go out and poll and grab that information to understand exactly, did people think Walmart was a bad organization? Did they think women should speak out more? Should they think that Walmart as an organization should pay people better? All of that information is out there in our social media channels, and they were collecting that information to better understand, how should I target my customer and change their attitudes? Another element of this is predictive analytics, where a lot of healthcare organizations are pooling and capturing information to kind of reduce fraud. Medicare, Medicaid, right? Even pharmaceutical fraud, where people would go from one pharmacy to the next day by day trying to buy the same drugs over a period of a week or more. They're trying to predict or prevent bad behaviors. So they capture that information and they use that for training and communication to change the way people interact with their products and services.
All right, so we've had social, mobility, we've had analytics, and the final piece here is cloud computing. How does that fit into everything?
Well, cloud computing gives you the ability to connect with a server or a computer stored off somewhere else. Right? And so it gives you a way to interact with data and to actually manage all of your data. So if you could think of something like Microsoft 365, you think of Salesforce.com, Yahoo Mail, right? No software, no service for you to really deal with as a consumer or even as an organization. So I could use Microsoft Office 365 and use Microsoft Word, and I don't have to install it on my machine. It gives me that flexibility to connect with software and services and pay a small fee or nominal fee, essentially, to leverage that service. So when you think about it, if I am a new company starting out, I could essentially go out there and set up a business by going to LegalZoom or an organization like that, and I don't even have to leave my home. So I have a reduction of time to market. I could essentially spin up a business using cloud computing and some of its services within a week, which is amazing.
Right. Okay. So again, SMAC, SMAC, social, mobility, analytics, and cloud computing. Now we know what these individual puzzle pieces are. Now let's put them together. What's the benefit of SMAC?
Well, think of global and local collaboration. One of the things that some people would say, get out of the building. If you really want to understand what's going on with your customers, you have to get out of the building. So SMAC as a tool gives you that ability to get out of the building, to connect with people in the social media channels who have a lot to say about your products and services. And so that's one great element. Anytime, anywhere access to customers. As long as they have a mobile device, you could send a lot of information to those individuals or potential customers. It also reduces time and cost to market, because instead of having to invest a tremendous amount of dollars up front to build infrastructure, you could rent that infrastructure. And a company who did this was Spanx Lingerie. They started for about $5,000 in 2000, and it's now worth, 13 years later, about $1 billion without traditional advertising, leveraging social media and mobile devices to connect and communicate. And then you also think of it as a great tool for individuals and organizations to connect with customers in a very unique way.
All right. Other than Spanx, how is SMAC used today by companies out there? Do you have a few more examples for us?
I could tell you about an automotive company. And this guy named Joe Justice, and he had this company called Wikispeed. He developed a car that went 100 miles per gallon in 3 months. And he won a first place prize for that innovation.
Wait. He developed it in 3 months. It didn't take the car 3 months to drive those 100 miles, right?
No, he developed the whole car in 3 months. In 3 months, he built a brand new car. And so one of the great things, you ask how. He had 150 team members in 15 countries.
We're talking crowdsourcing here.
We're talking a form of innovation sourcing.
Right. Oh, innovation. So I like it. Okay.
Yes. And also, he leveraged some of the agile best practices to really bring teams together to solve things. Differentiators. Every 7 days, he changed the entire car design versus the traditional 5 to 14 years. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
And you know, that car, when it comes to market, will sell for about $18,000. And if you're a hobbyist, if you're one of those hobbyist guys and you want to put cars together for $10,000, you could buy a kit. Isn't that
brilliant?
It's brilliant indeed. But when you think of what's going on with organizations today, markets and competition is driving us to do things faster. And to do it, and essentially, you want to try to reduce cost in doing in the same process. So if you don't have to spend a tremendous amount of dollars setting up the infrastructure for communication, the infrastructure for doing data processing, and you could rent that, it means that if you want more of something, you could just go out there and ask a vendor, hey, can I have more of this? And you could instantly have that without having the overhead of people in your organization having to spin up the appropriate infrastructure to support whatever business services you need.
What do you personally like most about SMAC?
I like the fact that it gives me the ability, we'll just say freedom. It gives me a certain amount of freedom to be an entrepreneur, to be an innovator, and to really connect with people in different parts of the world to solve a simple problem. Or even a more complex problem. That's the value that I see out of SMAC as a platform and as a tool.
All right. Now let's go ahead and let's translate that for our listeners. I mean, SMAC as a concept is understood now. We know what we're talking about here. But our listeners are project managers. Yeah. They're going to have to deal with sponsors and changing scope tomorrow and their fires to put out. How does SMAC help them, on their projects? How do they apply it to their projects?
Well, let's realize that most project teams that I'm familiar with are global. I work in an IT space, so most of the people, I have a small team here in the United States, but I may have people in China, in India, in England, in different parts of the world. So I may never meet those individuals on my project team. So social media as a tool gives me the ability to build a virtual community where I could see pictures and images of them and their family. And we could start to build a great connection in that way. It also helps me to break down some of the cultural barriers that I may be able to understand different things by being able to directly ask questions in that model. You think of the mobility aspect of it, which means that I don't have to run around with a desktop. I could grab my iPad at any point in time and I could check in to see what's going on with my project or what's going on with different people in my projects, which means if I need a special expertise, I could essentially connect with someone else in a different part of the world and bring them onto my project to help me solve a problem just for a short period of time and push them back. The analytics aspect of this is we do this all the time in project management. We have that red, yellow, green, which represents a project health. Analytics will help us to capture a lot of that information about our projects to understand, are we red, yellow, or green, especially when you're dealing with distributed teams. But the other aspect of that is using analytics is understand the sentiment of people on your projects. If you have a project where people are really in a good space, they say positive things about the projects and they react that way. If they're in a bad space, there are also negative feelings about your projects, which could really tank your projects, right? And so I think analytics helps that. Helps to grab that information in the social media space. And in cloud computing, now I don't have to have Microsoft Office stored on my desktop. I could store all of my projects and some software as a service server somewhere out there on Microsoft servers and be able to run my project whether I'm here in the United States or I'm traveling somewhere else. I could grab that information, but also giving information to my stakeholders. If my stakeholders are geographically distributed, they have access to that information at any time, anywhere. So to me, as a project manager, that gives me a powerful tool to really execute my project and really keep my stakeholders involved in the process.
Mm-hmm. Are there any software tools out there that already leverage SMAC for us project managers?
No, because since it's the convergence of four mature technologies, so Microsoft has its own platform, right? So you can leverage Microsoft stuff. And to me, as a project manager, that may be the space that connects everything for you in a Microsoft space. But generally, if you had to put it together, you would have to get Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter involved. And then you may have to go off in the cloud space and deal with Microsoft and Google and Amazon and Cisco and mobility, right? You have many vendors.
Right.
Right. And so, and the analytics is the same thing. So I think one of the space where you could try to connect all of those together is Microsoft. It's one space that you could do that.
Okay. One other area that I could see this work positively for us as project managers is in our discussions with our sponsors, because they are probably not aware of SMAC, and they're probably not aware of the fact that, hey, look at the product that you're trying to build. This is just a regular product that we have built for our company in the past. How about if we add SMAC on top of it? How about if we extend this product and give it a social component? What about if we add a mobility component? What about if the information that we have as part of this for our customers isn't stored locally, but it goes into the cloud and adds some analytics on top of that for the customer? So we take those four puzzle pieces, we show them to our sponsor, and we say, have you thought of that? I know we're stepping outside of the boundaries here of traditional project management, where you basically just, this is your scope, build it. But now that we are aware of these, and us project managers are at the forefront of technology and new trends, we could help our business partners to improve the products that we deliver for them, and therefore hopefully make our projects more successful for our business.
I would agree with that. And essentially, based on my own experiences, the organizations that I've worked with who are leveraging SMAC, they also leverage more agile practices. So even as a project manager, I would say there's a little bit of freedom where you're no longer managing project teams, which may give you the ability to be a bit more scalable. That you may, instead of just worrying about scope, right, you're working on another aspect of how can I work with some of the portfolio guys to understand what are the new investments that are coming through? How can I work with some of the program guys, right? So it gives you a different way to connect in with the organization versus having to be bottled down with managing a development team or some team or execution team. I think I see that as a great benefit to project managers since most people are striving. The reason why most people would adapt SMAC is because they need to be a bit more agile and a bit more innovative.
All right. If you could give one recommendation to our listeners out of all of the SMAC universe, what would it be? What should they start using tomorrow?
I would say if you want to start something tomorrow, the easiest part would be social media. You could easily set up a group on LinkedIn or Facebook and essentially build a community of people collaborating and sharing in different new ideas. Or if they find that there is some impediments that's blocking them from being successful, a group of people could actually come together and innovate around that. How do we solve this problem? So to me, that is, and also mobile technology. Everyone, I think for most people in the United States working in a business context have a smartphone. So that's another medium of being able to improve communication, because that's one of the number one things that most project managers are challenged with is communications.
All right. Wonderful. So that was our interview with Dave Cornelius on SMAC and Transforming Innovation, which he presented at the PMI Global Congress 2013 in North America in New Orleans. However, it was recorded here at the Southland Technology Conference 2013 in Long Beach.
We travel.
Absolutely. Dave, thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you so much, Cornelius. Have a great day.